sorry about that. So we need to calculate how much Social Security and Medicare tax we have to pay as a self-employed individual. Now, one thing you did not learn in payroll tax, and Tyler and Margaret won't learn in payroll tax, is that there's kind of an additional calculation that goes into figuring out how much the Social Security and Medicare tax is for self-employed individuals. We don't get into it in payroll because we're looking at it from an employer's point of view, but for our purposes, now we're looking at it from an individual's point of view with regard to their income tax preparation. We now have to take this into account, and what happens is we reduce our net income, the amount from line 31 on the Schedule C, we reduce it by a percentage. We reduce it by 7.65%. But what we do is, so let's just say, for example, let's take an example here, $180,000 of income. This is our net income. First thing we have to do, before we calculate Social Security and Medicare tax, we multiply it by 9235. What's 180,000 times 0.9235?
166,230.
And how much?
230.
230? Okay, so that's the first thing we do. This 0.9235, if you were, so this is a percentage, if you were to take 100 minus 92.35, you get 7.65. 7.65. That's taking into account, so we've got that 1/2 of self-employment tax that we get a deduction for on the Schedule 1. And we've got then this reduction of 7.65. We're reducing this by 7.65% before we're applying the self-employment tax. Those two items are supposed to take into account the fact that if you were an employer, you'd be getting a deduction for the employer portion of that tax, right? You would be getting to reduce your income by that much. Okay, so this is the first thing we do. Multiply that by 0.9235. Then we can calculate our OASDI and our Medicare tax. So OASDI, Social Security, has a wage base of $142,800, which means we don't have to tax the whole $166,230. We're going to tax the $142,800. So this is for Social Security. For Medicare, though, we're going to tax all of it. We're going to 0.124 times 0.029. What are those amounts? So how much is
1707 or 17,707, 17,707, and 4821.
All right, so our total SE tax, and this is calculated, by the way, on Schedule SE, okay, is 8, 2, 5, 12, 22,528 for our self-employment tax. Now remember, we get a deduction for half of that on our Schedule 1. Let's see, 1/2 self-employment tax. This is a deduction. So this is a tax. This is a deduction or an adjustment, actually. What's half of 22,528? 14, 64, was it 264, 264?
Yeah.
This would be a deduction on our Schedule 1. This is going to be a 4 AGI deduction. This is the 1/2 of self-employment tax here, after we've calculated that self-employment tax. Remember when you're doing this calculation, that you are going to take the 0.9235 first. That's the first thing you're going to do. Don't multiply by, the tax rate first. First reduce it by this amount. Okay? Because it gets a little funny, like if we had 155,000 of net income times, which is above the wage base, right? So if we multiplied that, we said, okay, we're gonna reduce that by the wage base, and now we're gonna multiply the 142.8, we would be wrong. What's 155 times 0.9235?
143,142.5.
143, okay, I chose the wrong number. Let's do something else. Let's do 152.
140,372.
372?
Yes.
If we had reduced this to the 142.8, the tax would be 17,707. We have to first do this. Now it's gonna be applied on the 143.72. How much is that for times 1 point?
17,406.
Medicare, now we're always gonna use that number for Medicare. 4071? That additional Medicare tax is calculated on a different form. Okay, so for the additional Medicare tax, we don't get to reduce it by this point, 9235. That's done completely separate. So again, the forms that you would use, all the forms that you would use, let's see. We would use, first thing you're gonna do, the first form you would fill out is Schedule C when we're calculating all of this, okay? The next form, Schedule SE. The Schedule SE is going to give us the self-employment tax, and it's gonna calculate it's gonna calculate the 1/2 deduction. So from the Schedule SE, we're gonna fill out the Schedule 1 and the Schedule 2. This is where we would put the additional tax, 22,528, and then we've gotta transfer all of it to the 1040. So what's on the Schedule C is gonna be transferred to the Schedule SE. What's on the Schedule SE is gonna be transferred to two forms, the Schedule 1 and the Schedule 2. And then what's on the Schedule 1 is gonna be transferred to the 1040, and what's on the Schedule 2 is gonna be transferred to the 1040. But it all starts with the Schedule C. You can't fill out these forms until you've done this. So in your problem in the homework, you've gotta do this first. Okay? I don't know if your book says anything else. I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of rushing. I've got like 5 minutes left. Although I'm here for office hours after this, so if you guys want to stick around, feel free.
Was qualified justice.
Yeah, I know, I still have to talk about that. So this is all in your book, those tax rates, talks about the additional Medicare tax. in mind, a couple of things, reduce it by that 92.35%. And then also remember that social security wage base. Show you what the schedule SE looks like real quick. Well, yeah. So all that calculation is done right on this form. So net profit or loss from Schedule C, let's say it's the 152. There, we're not gonna combine anything. If line 3 is more than 0, multiply by 0.9235, we did that in 4372. No, combine lines 4A and 4B, okay, 4372. You a church employee, nope. Multiply line 5, we don't need that, add 4C and 5B, 14372. Maximum amount of combined wages and self-employment earnings subject to social security tax for the 6.2 portion of the 7.7, so we don't need that. No tips there, wages subject to social security tax. Add lines 8A, 8B, 8C, there's nothing there. Line 9, subtract line 9D from line 7. 42,800, multiply the smaller of line 9 or line 6. So this is where we're taking the smaller, we did that, by 12.4, and it was 17,406. Multiply line 6 by 2.9%, 4071. Add those two together, 7, but it says here, so add those together and on Schedule 2. And then you're gonna divide that total, so what is 17,406? 21,477. You divide that by 2. 10,739. Whoops. So this goes on Schedule 2 under other taxes, that gets transferred to the 1040 for an additional tax. This gets transferred to the Schedule 1 under adjustments, and then ultimately gets transferred to the 1040 as an adjustment to income, a 4 AGI adjustment. So it reduces AGI. Looks like there. You do have to do this in your software problem. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit